Hey guys, this week we're going to be practicing some more of three-digit subtraction with regrouping. I want to do some with you today to get you started, and then you're going to finish on your own. Again, this is a review, so this is something that we did before school got out, but I wanted to spend one more week kind of reviewing, going back over it, make sure we got the concept down, and next week we're going to talk about reading graphs. So today you should have out the page from your packet that is shown on the screen. We're going to do some more subtraction. And as you notice, they are laying down, so the first thing we're going to need to do is stand them up. So if you will go ahead and grab your dry erase board, a marker, and your s'more subtraction practice page, we'll go ahead and get started. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and write the first problem on the board. The first problem is 436 minus 248. And again, that is laying down, so we're going to stand it up. So I am going to write 436 minus 248. If you'll go ahead and write that on your board with me, and we can go ahead and take a look. Now we know that when we're regrouping, or now that when we're doing subtraction, we always have to ask ourselves, is there more on the floor or more on top? So when we start with the ones column, because we always start with the ones column, we ask ourselves, is there more on the floor or more on top? So in this particular problem, in the ones column, there is more on the floor. So what does that mean we have to do? We have to go next door and get some more. So we are going to go over here to this 3. We are going to steal 1 from him. So if I have 3 and I steal 1, I am left with 2. I am taking that group of 10 that I just stole and bringing it back over, and that 6 now becomes a 16. So in the ones column, I am now going to do 16 minus 8, and I can do that with tallies, drawing circles, number line, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so when I do 16 minus 8, I'm going to get 8. And again, you're going to work it out in a minute on your own, but I'm just going through to kind of get you started. Something that I want you to notice that happens though, when we get over to the tens column, if we ask ourselves that same question, is there more on the floor or more on top? We notice again that there's more on the floor. So we are going to again have to go next door and borrow from our hundreds column. So we're now going to go over to our hundreds column and borrow from that 4. Okay, I'm going to steal 1 from that 4, so I'm going to have 3. And again, I'm actually stealing a group of 10. We talked about that, even though it's in the hundreds column. So I'm taking that group of 10 back over to this 2, and that 2 is now going to become a 12. So now I can do 12 minus 4, and that gets you 8, and then 3 minus 2 gets you 1. Okay, so the main thing I want you to remember as you're doing this is in each place value, you're going to have to ask yourself, is there more on the floor or more on the top? Remember, you might regroup in the 1s and the 10s, so that's the tricky thing about subtraction. So after you solve each column, you're going to have to ask yourself again. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one's a little tricky, and that's why I want to walk with it through you. So when you get to the one like it at the end, you'll know what to do. So let's read this one together and write it on our dry erase boards. Let's stand this one up and write it. Can you say it with me? 500 minus 327. Okay, this is not one we've gone over before, and it's a little tricky. So here's what we're going to have to do. Okay, when we start in the ones column and we ask ourselves, is there more on the floor or more on top? We see that there's more on the floor because 7 is bigger than 0. Okay, but we run into a problem. When I go next door to borrow, there's nothing there. So we're going to have to go all the way over to the hundreds column, bring it back here to make this number bigger, then steal from it. So watch what we're going to do. I'm hopping all the way over here, and I'm going to steal from this hundreds column. I'm still just stealing 1. So that 5 is going to become a 4. This 0 is going to become a 10. Because if I have 0 and I put a 1 in front of it, I get 10. Now I do have something in the tens column to borrow from. So now we're going to go back to our ones place and start over. So now I can go over to this 10 and steal from it. If I have 10 and steal 1, I'm going to get 9. And that 1 that I stole is going back over here to make that 10. So I'm going to give you a second to make your dry erase board look like mine. Hope you can see. Okay, so what I have done is I have hopped all the way over to the hundreds column because I didn't have anything in the tens column to steal from. So I made that 5 a 4. I brought it over to make this 0 a 10. Now I'm ready to start over here in my ones column. So from my ones column, I hopped over to this 10 and made it a 9. And that made my 0 a 10. Okay? Now we're going to subtract. So now you can go ahead and subtract 10 minus 7. So if we're doing tallies, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops. And I cross out 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That leaves me with 3. Okay? Now when I get to my tens column, I've got 9 minus 2. So you can draw tallies, circles, number line, whatever you need to do 9 minus 2. So go ahead and do that now. I'll give you a second. Excuse the door slamming. That was one of the girls, so I apologize. So right now you're solving 9 plus 2. And we should be getting 7. And then we hop over to the hundreds column and we're doing 4 minus 3. That could be a quick fact we could do with our fingers or think about it in our brain. If I have 4 and I take away 3, I'm left with 1. Okay, let's read our answer together. 173. Okay, you good with that? I know that's a little different because we've got 2 zeros there. Okay, again, this is just practice today. I just want you practicing and going back over your skills that we talked about and learned before spring break. Let's do the last one, and then you're going to do some on your own for me. The last one, let's read it together as we're writing it. 321 minus 284. Okay, so what do we need to ask ourselves? Is there more on the top or more on the floor? So let's go to the ones column and ask ourselves that. Is there more on the top or more on the floor? Yes, there is more on the floor because 4 is bigger than 1. So that means we're going to have to go next door. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going next door. We are going to steal from this 2, which would make it a 1. And then I'm bringing that group of 10 back over to make this 1 an 11. Okay, so go ahead and use tallies, number line, counters, whatever you have to do 11 minus 4. I'm going to use tallies. Take away 4. And I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Okay, we've got to ask ourselves the big question again in the tens column. Okay, so let's ask ourselves. We've got a 1 and an 8. Is there more on the top or more on the floor? What do you think? Which number is bigger, 1 or 8? 8 is bigger than 1. So there is more on the floor. So we're going to have to borrow again. Here we go. We're going to go over and steal from this 3. This 3 is going to become a 2. I'm bringing that 1 I stole back over to this one, and it's going to become an 11. Okay, I'll give you a second to get your board like mine. So now in the tens column, we're doing 11 minus 8. Okay, so go ahead and use your dry erase board to do 11 minus 8. Now I'm going to cross out 8. And then I'm left with 3. Okay? And then 2 minus 2. We know that if there's more on the floor, we have to go next door. We know if there's more on the top, there's no need to stop. And we know that if the numbers are the same, 0 is the game because any number minus itself is always 0. So for that one, we should have gotten 37. Okay? Again, you're going to try the last 3 problems on this on your own. It is just practice, but I would love for you to snap a picture as you're working or write your answers out to the side when you get done and let me see how you did today. And then we'll come back tomorrow and do some more. Okay?